Well, this past week, I was looking around my house, doing some cleaning, and I found a small book with a strange writing. And I realized I found my cat's diary. And so I want to read it to you so you have an inside track here into the mind of the feline. Day 983 of my captivity. My captors continue to taunt me with bizarre little dangling objects. They dine lavishly on fresh meat, while the other inmates and I are fed some hash or some dry nuggets. I make my contempt for the rations perfectly clear. I nevertheless must eat something in order to keep up my strength. The only thing that keeps me going is my dream of escape. In an attempt to discuss them, I once again vomit on the carpet. Today I decapitated a mouse and dropped its headless body at their feet. I had hoped this would strike fear into their hearts, since it clearly demonstrates my capability. However, they merely made condescending comments about what a good little hunter I am. There was some sort of assembly of their accomplices tonight. I was placed in solitary confinement. For the duration of the event, I could hear the noises, I could smell the food. I overheard that my confinement was due to the power of allergies, and I must learn what this means so that I can use it to my advantage. Today I was almost successful in an attempt to assassinate one of my tormentors by weaving around his feet as he was walking. I must try this again tomorrow, this time at the top of the stairs. I am convinced that the other prisoners here are flunkies and snitches. The dogs receive special privileges. They are regularly released, and yet they seem more than willing to return. They have obviously gone mad or are mentally deficient. The little dog is put in a cage every night. They think that he is safe from me, and he is safe for now. Well, I also was looking around in the same area, and I found Luna's diary. 8 a.m., dog food, my favorite thing. 9:30 a.m., a car ride, my favorite thing. 9:40 a.m., a walk in the park, my favorite thing. 10:30 a.m., got rubbed and petted, my favorite thing. 12 o'clock, milk bones, my favorite thing. It goes on and on like this until 11 p.m., sleeping on the bed, my favorite thing. It's possible to experience the same thing, two people to experience the same thing and have completely different perspectives. And this is especially true of temptation. For temptation to be temptation, it has to be attractive and appealing to us. And the things that might be attractive and appealing to me might not be attractive and appealing to Sheila or Noah. And so as we consider on this first Sunday of Lent, this Lenten task that we take on, in my mind, there are three important questions. And the first one is this: was Jesus really tempted? And the answer is yes. It's the oldest conviction of the Christian faith that Jesus was both fully human and fully divine. And most of us can wrap our brains around one of those things or the other, Jesus as God or Jesus as human, and we don't quite know what to do when we put the both together, and that's the way it's supposed to be. That's why we call it faith. But for today, for the purposes of this gospel reading, we need to consider the humanity of Jesus. And here he is, 40 days in the wilderness, fasting and praying. He's about to begin his work. It's a 3-year task of teaching and labor. So yes, there is something in him at this moment that desires eating fresh bread. There is something in him at this moment that sees a long struggle ahead of him and would love to skip to the end by throwing himself off the temple, letting the angels catch him so the whole world can see, and surely they'll just believe then. And yes, there is something in him that would like to just simply be in charge of all the kingdoms of the world. We see that every day on the news, politicians who compromise to get power for the sake of the good things they can do once they get it. And so, yes, Jesus was tempted. And now here's the second question. Why are the things that tempt me attractive to me? And of course, some things are universal. Desire for bread when you're in the desert, especially when you're giving up bread, that's universal. But some temptation is uniquely appealing to me and to you. And the truth is, you are the only one who can answer this question. And that's why the church sets aside this time for us to walk in the desert. This journey we call Lent that the church has been doing for 1,700 years, coming face to face with your tempter, will help you answer all sorts of questions. And here is my ridiculous example for today, okay? For 5 years or so of my life, my first thought in the morning, and it was my thought that dominated my head 5 or 6 times a day, was this: I need a Diet Pepsi. Not God, not my family, not the incredible blessing I have that I got to wake up in a warm bed in a house with central heat and air next to a wife that loves me, not that I had freedom to believe and do what I wanted, not my work, not the needs of others. I'm sure I thought about those things during the day, but they came second behind carbonated water, brown dye, caffeine, and aspartame. And don't misunderstand me. I'm not trying to make a bigger deal of this than it was. Did God still love me? Yes. Did I still love my family? Yes. Was it a sin? It was getting close. If it wasn't. Did it matter much in the grand scheme of things? Maybe I'll ask God someday, but I doubt that it did. But here is what I know. In my first Lent as an Episcopalian, Diet Pepsi and I went for a walk together in the desert for 40 days. And I thought about it every day, at least once an hour of that 46 days, because no one told me you get Sundays off. And it's really good to not take them off, especially if that tempter is really strong. But it was there, and it never left my mind until Easter Sunday, about 1:30 in the afternoon. I opened that bottle, and I smelled that sweet, chemically smell. And I took a huge drink and realized Diet Pepsi is disgusting. Why have I been wasting money on this and drinking this for all these years? How did I even start drinking this? So, the answer to the second question is this. If you want to find out why you are attracted to the things that attract you, one way to find out, give them up for a while and see what happens. But you need to know that if you do this, you will not be walking alone. And I don't mean that to be encouraging. Because we'll be with you, of course. We're all giving up something, hopefully doing something for Lent. We'd love to encourage you. But the person that will be with you is your tempter. In the desert, mocking you, testing you, asking you questions. Here's the point. We only answer those questions when we face them. And I don't need to tell you this, but it will be difficult. It will be gut-wrenching. It will be soul-crushing. See, normally when difficult questions come over us, when whatever that thought is that triggers that response, pride or dark thoughts, the shadow, whatever you want to call it, when that comes over us, what we normally do is just go with it. And then maybe we numb ourselves or distract ourselves. Maybe we overconsume food, alcohol, Diet Pepsi. Distract ourselves with our phone or entertainment or shopping. And then, or maybe we just go as fast as we can. We speed up and get busy so we don't have to think about it. There's a story in Buddhism. The Buddha is trying to meditate, and then Mara shows up. In Buddhism, Mara represents the shadow, sin, darkness, bad thoughts, negativity, whatever it is. And the Buddha notices every time he tries to meditate, Mara shows up. So he runs away. He ignores Mara, but Mara won't stay away. So finally, he's trying to meditate, and he says to Mara, well, you might as well sit down and have some tea if you're planning on staying. And then Mara runs away. But she keeps coming back every day, of course, but the point is, when he faced his shadow, the shadow lost its power, at least for a little while. Well, we're not Buddhists, we're Episcopalian, so maybe we need to sit down with the devil for coffee. That's the third sacrament, right? This morning we read that Jesus went out into the desert and was tempted. And the devil was trying to discover what Jesus was made of. It could also be translated tested. He's tested in the desert. And the devil got his answer. He found out what Jesus was made of. So here's the third question. Do I have the courage to face whatever it is I'm carrying around? Well, I hope that you know that God loves you either way. And I admire you personally for even considering it. The truth is that none of these things are small. Diet Pepsi sounds small to me now, but the truth is when I sat there in Trinity Episcopal Church at 6:30 a.m. at the great vigil of Easter, I was really glad it was a candlelight service and that all the lights were off because I cried through the whole thing. It was the hardest thing I had ever done. And that sounds silly to say now, but it's true. And I keep telling you this dumb story about Diet Pepsi every year because the truth is, I don't have a better story to tell. I haven't been very successful since then. Facing our habits, our dark thoughts, our sin, even just the silly little things we'd like to put behind us, is hard. And all of us are going to fail. We're going to fail more often than we'll succeed. And Lent, of all times, is the time where we need to be okay with being honest about that. Of being a failure, of feeling a little shame, and being upfront and okay with it. Because that's the point of this gathering, of gathering together to admit and reflect on these things, to admit we're much more like the cat than we are the dog. We show each other grace and support. And in this community, as you go through the season, understand one person's fresh, cold Diet Pepsi is another person's brown dye and aspartame. And one person's captivity is another person's favorite thing. So may we walk together through the desert. May we enter into this Lenten journey with grace for each other and for ourselves, knowing that it's difficult to walk through the desert with the devil.